I think it should be clear to my comrades at the custom that, just listening to the last speaker, by the way, who are you, please? D.
I am Deputy Controller General of Customs in charge of Tariff and Trade, Caroline Niagwan.
Yeah. Then let me start from there. You know, the fact is that this issue of target collections, etc., ignores one particular element that is critical to determining what is collectible, namely the tariff regime. If the federal government wakes up tomorrow and decides to abolish duty on imports of everything, what will you collect? On the other hand, if we decide to go Donald Trump way and increase our tariffs to 100% with all our trading partners, of course, what you collect, if Nigeria insists of importing those things, where the market is skyrocketed, subject to...
It's not going off.
Let's hear ourselves.
Yes, it's not going off.
It's okay. If our chairman has a right to keep his microphone on, that's why he's our chairman. So, the tariff policies of government, for me, is at the heart of the matter. It also, in my opinion, points to our level of dependence on imports. That's why I have mixed feelings when you say you've collected extra trillions. To that extent, it shows how much we are still importing as a nation instead of producing. So I'm not necessarily very excited about these figures that you collect. Because if all of us, including you are wearing imported uniforms, and now I'm wearing imported underwears, and everybody is doing the same, of course everything will go up. But if we produce more at home, and therefore import less, then your target have no consequence. Number two, what is government tariff policies? Are we lowering it in a way as to make import comfortable to our people? Or are we raising tariff regime in order to discourage importation and protect local industries? For me, these are policy issues which, in fairness to you, is not in the hands of custom. This is the hands of the fiscal authority. However, the issue of 4% and sensitization, I'm like, madam, did you join the course of just last year? Because who are you sensitizing? Importers? I need you to speak to your idea of what constitutes, what word did you use? Stakeholders. Who are your stakeholders? Once a law has been passed, with profound respect to our president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, at any point in time, he emphasizes according to law. That is what distinguishes democracy from dictatorship. So nobody in Nigeria can say, I decree as follows, that what was valid yesterday is no longer valid today. Only the Nigeria Parliament. And the good news, you have bicameral. So even the Senate alone can't do it. It must be with the concurrence of the House of Rep. And additionally, the president must assent to it. Until these are done, your sensitization, you were just wasting money if actually you did. Because you have not sensitized me as a Nigerian who consumes sometimes imported products. So who are the people you are? Because if we go into the details now, we will find that billions of naira has been spent in the name of sensitizing unknown Nigerian. Mr. Chairman, I will insist, with your permission, that he speaks to where they did the sensitization, the people they sensitized, and what was the outcome, and who was coordinating this, what were their findings. Although all of that goes to no issue, because those who sensitize, even if it includes me, we do not have the power until the National Assembly amend the law and the president accede to the law. The minister cannot set aside where there is express legal, where you have extant laws. Even the minister cannot say suspend the implementation of a law that has life. That is the problem of democracy. It's not meant to be convenient. But the good news is, we recognize as Parliament that laws we are in a dynamic world. If you have convincing reasons why a particular element of the law should be amended, I'm sure, sir, Chairman, under your watch and as a very senior member of the National Assembly, we have amended several elements of existing laws. But you have to make the point. My last point, sir. This issue of percentage, I dealt with it when I was a governor. The tax authority says they are entitled to X percent. We put it in the law. Ideally, the higher the revenue you collect, your collection fee should be on a sliding scale. Because otherwise, if you collected 2 trillion last year, and because government has increased tariff policies, etc., you now can collect 10 times that amount. Are you now going to create fictitious expenditure to exhaust the money you are collecting? Because the government and the law does not allow you, even if they say you are entitled to 4%, to share it as you want. It's not lawful. It's not lawful. In my opinion, and for those of you who are into consultancy, you know, usually, if you charge 1% or 2%, at a certain level, you begin to subject it to a sliding scale. Otherwise, you collect so trillion, then you sit down and share it. No, I don't think it works that way.
It's all right. Can you address who and who?
Thank you. Our stakeholders are importers, exporters, freight forwarders, shipping company, terminal operators. Those are the people that we call our stakeholders. And we have been able to carry out this sensitization to the area controllers. Each command, there's an area controller, and there are stakeholders that do their clearance in those commands. So the area controllers were in charge of those sensitizations. We didn't have to travel from Abuja to go to Lagos or Port Harcourt to do sensitization. Okay. The area controllers of the commands did the sensitization for the stakeholders working in their commands. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is Jibo and members of his team. You are all welcome once again to the budget defense session. You are all aware of why you are here. You need to take us through your performance in 2024 and then tell us what you intend to do in 2025. Because you are running budget cycle of January to December. Okay? We have the papers before us here. We want you to take us through and be precise as much as possible. After your presentation, we may take you up on some issues where we seek clarifications. So on this note, I want you to please go ahead with your presentation. But before then, one of our distinguished colleagues just walked in. Can you please introduce yourself? Zamfara United.
Thank you, my chairman, distinguished colleagues. I'm Senator Ekra Ali Wilbis, representing Zamfara Central.
The chairman, Senate Committee on Customs and Excise, the vice chairman, and other distinguished members of this important committee, the secretariat, the press, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we are here to present our proposal for the 2025 budget. And before that, my CGC would have been here, but due to some other, thank you, sir. I have the budget proposal here, sir. But we have I have an executive summary that I have done that I will go through it. Yes, I'll go through it, sir. Introduction. The Nigerian Customs Service was first established in 1891 by the former British colonial administration for the collection of revenue in the Niger Coast Protectorate. The Nigerian Customs, as it is today, is established by provision of Section 1 of the Nigerian Customs Service Act 2023 and is responsible for formulating the general policy guidelines for the Nigerian Customs Service. The functions of the Nigerian Customs Service are spelled out. Sir. Sir.
We are all aware of the functions of the Nigerian Customs Service.
Okay,
please take us to the figures.
Okay.
Your performance in 2024, please.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Review, page 2, sir. Review of 2024 approved budget performance. revenue performance of 2024. The approved revenue target for the year 2024 stood at 5.079 trillion. Remarkably, the service collected a total of 6.105 trillion for the period of January to December 2024. The revenue performance has a positive variance of 2.899 billion or 90.40% when compared with the approved revenue target of the same period. We go to page 4, sir. As 2024 expenditure performance. The service had an approved budget expenditure of 706.43 billion for the 2024 budget year, out of which a total sum of 290.62 billion, or 41.14%, was the actual received between January to December 2024. It should also be noted that there are funds for ongoing capital projects of 60.58 billion. The above received was utilized as follows: personnel cost 94.37 billion, overhead cost 56 billion, then capital cost amounted to 172.30 billion. The total was 322.67 billion. That's the performance, sir.
Are there issues that any of the distinguished colleagues here want to raise with respect to 2024 performance? Yes. You want to raise issues? Yes. Okay. Okay.
2025 budget proposal. The revenue target for the year 2025 is based on the medium-term revenue framework. The revenue target for NCS for 2025 financial year is set at 6.584 trillion, consisting of 3.835 trillion for Federation account, then 1.081 trillion for non-Federation account, and 1.650 trillion for import VAT. I will go to page 8, sir. Page 8, sir. 2025 expected income. The service proposed a budget expenditure of 1.132 trillion for the 2025 fiscal year, which will be sourced from the following items. 1, 4% FOB. 2, 2% VAT shares of NCS. Then funds for ongoing capital projects. The total amounted to 1.132 trillion. The expected funds will be utilized as follows: personnel cost 247.16 billion, that's amounting to 21.82% of the total budget. Overhead cost 239.97 billion, representing 21.19% of the total budget. Then the capital cost 645.42 billion, representing 56.99%. Total budget 1.132 trillion. So from there, I think I will just go to page 12. The details breakdown of the expenditure of personnel, overhead, and capital costs are outlined in the appendixes 1, 2, and 3, respectively, of the main report. This is the main report, so we have all the breakdown on this, sir.
Can you give us some of the key assumptions for the 2025 projection? The key assumptions.
Okay, I'll do that, sir. Okay. Let me start with the personnel cost, sir. Page 9. The nominal roll of 16,245 personnel and 3,927 expected recruitments of cadets are used in estimating the personnel cost of 247.16 billion, which comprises of 197.99 billion is an allocation to pay salaries and allowances for service personnel. 18.19 billion is provision for employers' contribution under the National Pension Scheme. 3. 9.55 billion is provision for 5.25% employers' contribution to National Health Insurance Scheme. 17.67 billion is a provision for payment of annual group life and backlog insurance. 5. 3.64 billion is provision for statutory payment of NSITF and ITF. And overhead, an estimate of 239.97 billion has been provided for day-to-day administrative expenses of the service as follows. 10 billion is provision for staff loans and advances. 7.60 billion will go to general maintenance services of buildings, plants, generators, aircraft, seaboards, motor vehicles, office equipment, etc., across zonal headquarters and area commands nationwide. 3. 4.14 billion will be used in utilities, materials, and supplies of office equipment, computer consumables, printing of security and non-security documents, medical supplies, uniform and training kits. 18.60 billion is provision for travels and transports general. 7.40 billion is provision for fuel, motor vehicles, plants, generators, aircraft, seaboards across zonal headquarters and area commands. 7.30 billion is also set aside for training and retraining of officers to strengthen their capacity in different areas of specialization. 169.06 billion is set aside for financial and miscellaneous services. 4.67 billion is set aside for consulting, professional, and other services. We go to the capital expenditure. The total capital expenditure presented in this budget is 645.42 billion and is broken down as follows. Proposed works, 197.16 billion. Proposed supplies, 135.03 billion. Ongoing projects, 225.53 billion. Ongoing supplies, 86.20 billion. Liabilities, 1.50 billion. So those are the highlights of this.
At this point, may I now request
your report. So on your page 2 of your summarized report, against the expected performance of 2024, whereby you had a target of about 5 trillion, you were able to actually achieve about 6 trillion naira. I think that is very commendable. I will salute you for that. Now, having said that, I'll now quickly take you to your page 5. Now, I haven't done that. I haven't put up that remarkable performance in 2024. You know, of almost about 1 trillion above target. Now, if you go to your page 6, now for this year, you are now projecting, you know, you are now projecting for just slightly about 7% as the growth or the stretch in the performance of 2024. That is, you know, against the backdrop of the 6.1 trillion that you actually achieved, you are now proposing 6.58 trillion. I don't think that is good. You know, I think, number one, there are some assumptions that are perhaps working in your favor now, and we should be able to stretch this budget beyond this kind of budget expectation. Look, let me remind you You see, part of the challenge that the current administration has is a revenue challenge. And then we also want to minimize the, the incidence or the idea of borrowings. And the only way we can do it is to stretch revenue targets. So if you did well in 2024, and we are going to 2025, wherein we are going to have all of the complements of tax reforms and all of that, they are going to help revenue performance, and as such, the revenue generating agencies should be able to stretch beyond the 7%. So, Mr. Chairman, what I'm saying in essence is that I don't think this 7% stretch should be accepted. I think we should stretch it beyond this. That's number one. So I want you to know that.
I want you to respond to that.
No, so let me finish, Mr. Chairman. So I haven't said that on the revenue target side. Now, I'll now take you to the expenditure side. Now, in 2024, you budgeted for your expenditure about, and I'm speaking to your page 4 now, you budgeted 706.4 billion naira. Now, and you are now claiming, and you alluded to the fact that you are only able to draw down about 290 billion. 290 billion, yeah? Now, from that 290 billion, so you gave a breakdown. But what is worrisome is this. In 2025, you are now budgeting for 1.1 trillion as expenditure. So you are moving from 706 to 1.1 trillion. That's almost 60% growth in expenditure. So if you are doing that in expenditure, please, I'm going to plead with you, you should do that in the revenue as well. If you are not going to do that in the revenue, you cannot do that in the expenditure. That's one. Now, the second point again is that even if in your 2024 budget, and you were only able to draw just 290 billion, why would you want to stretch to 1.1 trillion? What is going on? You understand? I mean, you need to do a lot of explanations as to why you must make this kind of provisions. And of course, the breakdown that you have put here, proposed works, proposed supplies, you need to explain them. What are they? You understand? So, in summary, one, you cannot be stretching your expenditure by 60% and now telling us you'll be growing your revenue by 7%. Mr. Chairman, for me personally, I don't think that that is a good budgeting approach. That's one. Then two, you cannot be spending 290 billion out of 706 billion in 2024, and you now want to go to 1.1 trillion in 2025. What is going on? So, thank you very much. Yeah.
Customs prior to 2023, you are achieving up to almost 3 trillion per annum. With the floating of Naira, with the exchange rate, you are still making less. I cannot give you kudos for achieving 5 trillion. Personally, me, I cannot give you that. And when you look at your expenditure, for 2025, your budget expenditure, look at it. You say you achieve 6.5 something trillion as revenue, and you are going to spend 1.12 or 1.13 trillion, over 8% of the money, over 8% of the total money. I mean, almost 16% of total money. 16%, that's what you spend. Over 16% of what you generate, you spend. And then look at what does it. We'll look at the law. And then the second thing is that if you spend on your personnel, you spend 94 billion last year. This year you are budgeting how much for personnel? You are budgeting for personnel for this year 200 and something billion, 247 billion, and you are only recruiting 300 people. 3,000 people. 3,000 addition to your about 16,000 or so. You are spending over 100, almost 200%. That's increase, yes. So I think something, overhead is same thing. I think something is wrong with this estimate. And we need your explanation. We need your explanation on all this. So why are we here? No, you are satisfied. I am satisfied. Then you pass it, Chairman. Sign it. No, it cannot be public, Chairman. You normally go through your documents before you present it. If I wasn't satisfied, I won't bring them here.
Chairman, hold on.
Please go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, my dear, listen. I am not very much fond observation of my colleagues. They have almost captured all my observations. But I have an additional question, which I want you to be more specific and tell us and convince us these are capital expenditures in 2024. How far you go with the level of how much you received, as I saw 172. When you compared it with the 2005 and 25, it jumped to 645 billion naira. And therefore,
since you have studied the presented to us, we raised all these observations. That's what I was trying to do. I think we raised all these observations and they were able to provide clarifications. And I said, okay, fine. Based on those clarifications, we can now escalate it to the committee level. That's why we are here. Okay. And that is to tell you that I also studied everything. And the issues that you have raised are the same issues that I raised. And they now provided explanations. And I said, okay, with these explanations, we can now escalate it to the committee level. That's why we are here.
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry. Having said that, please. I want him now respond.
Chairman, sir, before you respond. And constitutionally, we have the right to ask questions at any level. And when we listen to the chairman of finance, he's the chairman of finance, which is very critical on what we are doing, banking and currency. It is all that committees who are doing all this financial and something. And even the question he raises, he's not with you when you have all that information. He don't have the information. We all don't, most of us, we don't have that information. And the essence of doing parliamentary oversight, question and answer, is for the public, for Nigerians, for us to understand what, therefore we can defend it in the flow when we are considering the nitty-gritty of the, it is not for you alone. Therefore, we can do it two ways. We can do it in executive session, just to have the information, which we can. If not, okay, let him answer all the questions. You must allow the senators to ask questions and the custom to respond. And if you have anything to give us, we can go into executive session and discuss it.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Sir, if you observe, it's more than 7%. It's 21.2%, because this figure was not given by customs. It was given by MTRF. That's why it was arrived at. And it's not done by customs that we don't give ourselves the target. A committee is formed by the federal government and they go through what you have achieved last year and they give you this thing. So, and it's 21.2%, so not to the 2%. The expenditure, last year we budgeted 706 and we received only 290. If you observe, from last year when the Custom Act was signed, we were supposed to have started collecting 4% FOB. That was meant to fund the service. Unfortunately, it was not done. That's why we said we expected 706 billion, but 290 was what was received by us. And our budget, sir, when you talk of the budget, this year's budget, that the way it went up, you see, our budget is not based on our revenue, on our revenue target. It's based on what is going to fund customs. And FOB is what has been appropriated by the Parliament for customs to be funded, and that is 4% cost of collection. Unfortunately, last year one was supposed to start taking that, it was suspended. Then the other question, the personnel cost, our salary had been increased, and by that it's going to affect almost everything from pension, from NHIS, from NSITF, from ITF. So all these things have to be affected in the long run because it's based on percentages. So that's why this thing has to go up, sir. That is for the few questions that were asked earlier. I don't know if it's any other one that I have not touched. Yes, yeah.
Senatorial district. My own concern is about the astronomical rise in your overhead in 2024 from 56 billion to 239 billion in 2025. And the nitty-gritty of how you are going to spend this overhead is on computers, replacement of vehicles, and what have you. What is the average lifespan of a computer that every year you have to procure more computers and then more cars that led to the astronomical rise of your overhead from 56 to 239?
Yeah. One house. Mr. Fadosi, 1 house, please. My question is on your revenue generation for 2024 first. Yes, you had an increase beyond the revenue forecast by over $1 trillion. But just like my colleague said, it could have been more. The last time we did an oversight in Lagos, we talked about this, the level of import, especially of used vehicles into Nigeria, which has reduced that because of the surcharge. Is it the surcharge we call the, because people are made to pay some charges, so they ran away and they now prefer to come into Cotonou and all that. I believe if we can remove those charges like the surcharge, or you call it, that will increase. That will increase our revenue generation. So I think custom need to make a strong presentation to us on this. I'm sure you are not saying anything about it in 2025 proposal. And I believe if we remove that surcharge, or that you call it, it will help improve revenue generation. Now, coming to 2025, we are almost in the middle of 2025 now. Can you tell us, are you meeting your revenue forecast for 2025 thus far? At least you know what has been your revenue generation from January to date. Can you give us an assurance that you are meeting and possibly surpassing your revenue forecast for 2025? Because in 2025 your target is 6.584 trillion, consisting of 3.853 trillion for federation, 1.081 trillion for non-federation, and 1.654 for import VAT. What did you mean by federation, non-federation? Can you explain further about that? All right. I'm worried you have a whooping sum of 169 billion set aside as financial and miscellaneous. So if you have this amount, and I assume you carefully prepared your budget, miscellaneous should not take such a huge sum of money. So where you have a total of 169 billion as miscellaneous, there's a problem somewhere. So you may need to throw more light on that, DCG.
That you projected 5 billion last year, 5 trillion, and you're able to make 6. Now you are talking of just about a slight increase. So that we don't now, towards the end of the year, you now claim you have exceeded your budget. And people now be talking, yes, custom has done very well. In line with what Senator Father has just said, there is no need to give custom targets. You should just be given incentive to say you take a particular percentage on whatever you collect. And I want to have your take on this particular thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Percent FOB. Why we are not able to start collecting it. So when we were about to start that, as I said earlier, our stakeholders kicked against it, and we were advised to suspend it. But we still seek the support of the National Assembly to ensure that the 4% FOB that was approved by an act of law is executed by us. Then he equally talked about suspension of targets for customs, that we should be funded based on percentage of what we are able to generate. Well, for now, we are civil servants, but if we are given that challenge, I think we can be able to take on it, sir. The issue of the vehicles issue and other things, I think the DCG in charge of tariff and trade can answer those questions for us. We were up. Yes. Yes.
7%.
Sir? No. No.
Thank you, Chairman. Say that the 4% FOB is the act, is in the Nigerian Customs Service Act 2023 for us to collect 4% FOB as our source of funding. Before then, it was 7% collection. So that's why we're confused. We are supposed to collect 4% of the FOB as our source of funding. We could not collect that because we were asked to suspend when we started collection. It was we were supposed to remove the CISS and then desist from collecting the 7% FOB and start collecting 4%, 7% CISS and 4% FOB, but we were not allowed to collect it. When you make a declaration, the FOB is on the declaration. 4% of it is calculated free on board. It is the cost of the goods. It's the cost of the goods until you bring it to the ship. So it's the cost of the goods as well as the transportation cost to the ship. That is the FOB.
I think it should be clear to my comrades at the custom that, just listening to the last speaker, by the way, who are you, please?
I am Deputy Controller of General of Customs in charge of Tariff and Trade, Caroline Niagwan.
Yeah. Then let me start from there. You know, the fact is that this issue of target collections, etc., ignores one particular element that is critical to determining what is collectible, namely the tariff regime. If the federal government wakes up tomorrow and decides to abolish duty on imports of everything, what will you collect? On the other hand, if we decide to go Donald Trump way and increase our tariffs to 100% with all our trading partners, of course, what you collect, if Nigeria insists of importing those things, where the market is skyrocketed, subject to...
It's not going off.
Let's hear ourselves.
Yes, it's not going off.
It's okay. If our chairman has a right to keep his microphone on, that's why he's our chairman. So, the tariff policies of government, for me, is at the heart of the matter. It also, in my opinion, points to our level of dependence on imports. That's why I have mixed feelings when you say you've collected extra trillions. To that extent, it shows how much we are still importing as a nation instead of producing. So I'm not necessarily very excited about these figures that you collect. Because if all of us, including you are wearing imported uniforms, and now I'm wearing imported underwears, and everybody is doing the same, of course everything will go up. But if we produce more at home, and therefore import less, then your target have no consequence. Number two, what is government tariff policies? Are we lowering it in a way as to make import comfortable to our people? Or are we raising tariff regime in order to discourage importation and protect local industries? For me, these are policy issues which, in fairness to you, is not in the hands of custom. This is the hands of the fiscal authority. However, the issue of 4% and sensitization, I'm like, madam, did you join the course of just last year? Because who are you sensitizing? Importers? I need you to speak to your idea of what constitutes, what word did you use? Stakeholders. Who are your stakeholders? Once a law has been passed, with profound respect to our president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, at any point in time, he emphasizes according to law. That is what distinguishes democracy from dictatorship. So nobody in Nigeria can say, I decree as follows, that what was valid yesterday is no longer valid today. Only the Nigeria Parliament. And the good news, you have bicameral. So even the Senate alone can't do it. It must be with the concurrence of the House of Rep. And additionally, the president must assent to it. Until these are done, your sensitization, you were just wasting money if actually you did. Because you have not sensitized me as a Nigerian who consumes sometimes imported products. So who are the people you are? Because if we go into the details now, we will find that billions of naira has been spent in the name of sensitizing unknown Nigerian. Mr. Chairman, I will insist, with your permission, that he speaks to where they did the sensitization, the people they sensitized, and what was the outcome, and who was coordinating this, what were their findings. Although all of that goes to no issue, because those who sensitize, even if it includes me, we do not have the power until the National Assembly amend the law and the president accede to the law. The minister cannot set aside where there is express legal, where you have exact laws. Even the minister cannot say suspend the implementation of a law that has life. That is the problem of democracy. It's not meant to be convenient. But the good news is, we recognize as parliament that we are in a dynamic world. If you have convincing reasons why a particular element of the law should be amended, I'm sure, sir, Chairman, under your watch and as a very senior member of the National Assembly, we have amended several elements of existing laws. But you have to make the point. My last point, sir. This issue of percentage, I dealt with it when I was a governor. The tax authority says they are entitled to X%, we put it in the law. Ideally, the higher the revenue you collect, your collection fee should be on a sliding scale. Because otherwise, if you collected 2 trillion last year, and because government has increased tariff policies, etc., you now can collect 30 that amount, are you now going to create fictitious expenditure to exhaust the money you are collecting? Because the government and the law does not allow you, even if they say you are down to 4%, to share it as you want. It's not lawful. It's not lawful. In my opinion, and for those of you who are into consultancy, you know, usually, if you charge 1% or 2%, at a certain level, you begin to subject it to a sliding scale. Otherwise, you collect so trillion, then you sit down and share it. No, I don't think it works that way.
It's all right. Can you address who and who?
Thank you. Our stakeholders are importers, exporters, freight forwarders, shipping company, terminal operators. Those are the people that we call our stakeholders. And we have been able to carry out this sensitization to the area controllers. Each command, there's an area controller, and there are stakeholders that do their clearance in those commands. So the area controllers were in charge of those sensitizations. We didn't have to travel from Abuja to go to Lagos or Port Harcourt to do sensitization.
Okay.
The area controllers of the commands did the sensitization for the stakeholders working in their commands. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That have been raised. Because like I told you earlier, I had interface with them. Virtually all the issues that you've raised here today were raised, okay, and they were able to provide answers. And otherwise, we wouldn't have brought them here. I want to start from the last comment passed by His Excellency Oshiomhole. You know, we said that there is a need for an amendment, or there is a possibility of an amendment. I don't think amendment is the issue here, but enforceability, it has to be enforced. Okay? This has to be enforced. And that is why we told the minister, we've informed the Minister of Finance that he should appear before us before Friday, or not before Friday. This has to be enforced. I don't think there is any need for amendment. Okay? You are right. You are in the position to collect these funds, and that is why the law has permitted you to do so. Okay? If somewhere, somehow, some people are acting as constraints, or they are acting as stumbling blocks, then it is left for us to ensure that this law is enforced. Okay? It's enforceability that I think is the key issue here. Having said that, I listened attentively to all the comments passed by my colleagues, and I want to take some of these issues one after the other. The issue of the target, 6-point-something trillion, okay? Like the DCG mentioned, that target is a target given to them based on the MTEF, okay? Because I took them up. I said, okay, if you did this much, if you're able to perform creatively well in 2024, why are you setting this low target? That this target should be much more than this. But they said, look, there has to be a reference point. They cannot go and manufacture targets. This is the target that has been given to them by MTEF, okay, as enshrined in MTEF. And that is to say that that is the minimum that they can go. And I know that even half year, as it is today, they are almost inching to that figure. So I know by the end of the financial year, they will do a lot better. They will come up with a very robust result. Having said that, the issue of expenditures, okay, some of the expenditures, I would say, are accrued. They are going to be, the monies are going to go out of your system by 2025. These are monies that ordinarily were supposed to have been paid in 2024, but they were not paid, but they are now, I'm sure some of them have already even been paid between January and now. Some of them have already been paid, okay? Is that also? Some of the funds have already been paid between January and now. Okay, we are talking of the figures as at 31st December 2024. Some of the funds, some of the payments that you accrued that you could not pay before 31st of December, I'm sure by now had already been paid. And that will be reflected appropriately in your account by the end of this financial year. Now, the issue of ongoing projects. There are so many ongoing projects. And that is why you see that the performance of the capital expenditure in 2024 is abysmally low. But that is not to say that the projects are not there. The projects are there and they are ongoing. And payments, some of the payments will be due in 2025. Okay, so you can see that there is a major difference between 2024 figures in terms of capital expenditures and 2025. Having said that, I want to again appeal to my colleagues that we should try and allow this budget to go because I feel that they've done a good job in terms of performance, like you all attested to. No, cannot wait. Drop your glass. Drop it. No, wait now. No, so what I'm saying is that, well, because I know he wants to bust out now. I don't know. Okay, all right, thank you very much. I want to put my question now.
Wait.
Okay, you see, I told you. But wait, let me finish. Can I last?
It will help you. It will help you.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, we have the right to ask questions.
Yes.
And to have a clarification.
Yes.
Since you are working with them and you understood some of the arguments came up from our members.
Yes.
Maybe we have to have an executive session.
We will do that. We will do that.
No, we cannot commit ourselves like this. Just say to.
We will do that. We will do that.
Okay.
We will do that. Hello, sorry. We will do that after the executive session.
You see, sir, we are your agent in the chamber.
Yes.
We have to sensitize our members to tell them this is what we achieved, or this is what we understood. Therefore, we need to go in one direction.
Yes.
We must work in
harmony,
the same frequency with the customer.
Thank you very much.
Doing so, we will not do it unless and until we are fully informed on this observation from our concerned distinguished. Step the question, then later on you can put the question. We don't have any problem. But let us be equipped with the reasons. Because when we are contributing in the flow of the chamber, definitely we must explain to Nigeria the reason of our
session then. Please,
passing this.
Please excuse us. Give us for your understanding. There are so many gray areas, but we have been able to resolve the issues such that this budget can be passed. But before we pass the budget, I want to commend you, Customs, for your performance in 2024. You were given a target of about 5 point something trillion, and you made about 6 point something trillion. Okay? I think the excess is about 1 point something trillion too. I can't get the exact figure now. We want to commend you for that. In terms of your expenditure too, I want to believe that you are also prudent. The issues raised with respect to your target for your revenue target for 2024 has already been explained. That is what is enshrined in the MTEF. The issues related to the figures for expenditure in 2025, I also believe that they will also be addressed. Some of the expenditures ordinarily were supposed to have been incurred in 2024, but you could not incur them, and you roll them over to 2025. Having said that, we believe that your revenue target of 6 point something trillion, I can't get the exact figure now, is abysmally low. You have to double your efforts. You must get us nothing less than 10 trillion by the end of this financial year. We don't expect you to get us anything less than 10 trillion by the end of this financial year. You are adequately equipped, you have the infrastructure, and you have the staff, okay? The additional staff that you're talking about, over 3,000, will come in, and I'm sure you are almost on the drawing board of that. I'm sure you have you finished? Oh, I don't know. Have you finished the process for the recruitment? But how soon are you going to finish? Okay, I think by the time you bring in that additional workforce, okay, you'll be able to actualize some of the things that I'm talking about. We don't expect you to come in with anything less than 10 trillion, okay, by the end of this financial year. The government needs a lot of money to undertake various infrastructural developments. The president of the country is poised to take Nigeria to a greater height, okay? And you can't do this, especially with respect to infrastructure, without adequate funds. Customs is one of the pivotal agencies that is responsible for driving of revenue generation in this country, okay? And you must just act as such, okay? We believe that you have the quality of staff that can drive that process, and you must just act as such. We don't expect anything less than 10 trillion from you by the end of this financial year. Having said that, your ancillary functions, you have the issue of intercepting arms and ammunition. I think you are also doing very well in that area based on the records available to us. But you know, you need to step up your game in that area too. Okay, there are so many arms finding their ways into Nigeria. Okay, and there are 3 key areas of entry. It's either the seaport, the airport, or the land borders, and you are at these locations. So how does these items, how do these items get their way to Nigeria? You need to check up. You need to brace up in terms of your surveillance. And then with respect to illicit drugs too, you also need to ensure that as much as possible you should be on top of your game. There's so much of illicit drugs flowing all over the place. And that is contributing to the issue of banditry in Nigeria, because most of these guys are on drugs. You need to work, and so what I'm saying is that in addition to your revenue drives, you should also be mindful of some of these other functions, okay? Then the issue of smuggling generally is also very important. So many items are smuggled into Nigeria, and that shouldn't be so. The president of the country did mention some time ago that we should eat or we should consume what we produce, okay? And what is the essence of that is that we should, as much as possible, curtail or reduce importation to the basics. Most of these items that are imported or smuggled into Nigeria can be produced comfortably here, even in their most crude form. Let's consume, let's use what we produce so as to conserve our foreign exchange earnings. Okay? And by the time that is done, and there's patronage of these companies that are producing some of these items in Nigeria, a lot of employment opportunities will be generated. A lot of raw materials that are idling away all over the place will also be put into use. So Customs, I want to thank you very much. You've done well in terms of revenue generation, but we expect nothing less than 10 trillion from you by the end of this financial year. Thank you very much. On that note, can I please put this question? Let me put this question. Okay, the committee hereby recommends as follows, that the revenue target of 6 trillion 584 billion 597 million 366,914 naira 33 kobo only be approved for 2025. Those in support say aye. Aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Number 2, that the expenditure of 1 trillion 132 billion 548 million 855,205 naira 88 kobo only be approved for 2025 financial year. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. I think you can now exit.